All right. So there has been, a lot of things that have been going around, and I would say that this season has been interesting for the, uh, AFI Cup series. But I would say that this league has had some crazy personalities, and I would like to show it off. If you don't know, we're gonna be doing an alignment chart, and if we don't know what an alignment chart is, it is basically we go from lawful to chaotic, good to evil. So we're gonna see where we're gonna put these two, or well, actually nine drivers, and see where we can put them up against. And I'll go into detail of why I will put them there. Lawful good is a form of a stat, I guess, in this alignment chart that is you basically don't harm anything. You basically win off of pure Lily just not causing anything. If you win, everyone goes home, or mostly everyone goes home, okay? And that will be the case. I mean, there's a few drivers that you can point here or there, but no one embodies that as much as this D3 driver that is El Bozo. To give you a reason why Albozo's in this category is because the fact of the matter is that that guy has not had a single controversial moment ever and is normally very silent whenever he's not on the track. If you ever have seen him off the track, he's not really talkative at all. He's only there for a few minutes, maybe even an hour at most, but really just gone. And whenever he does get on track, it's normally well, probably a top five finish or maybe even a win. And whenever he did win, it was really just not even that controversial in the long run, and that's like it wasn't really a controversial statement, so he really can't be hated for anything as of now, and he's really hasn't caused any harm so far, so that's why he's probably going to be in this tier the most, like locked in. So there's no argument towards it if I do say so myself. Lawful neutral is a fact that is, well, if we take it into example, lawful neutral is probably the most complicated, probably the most complicated actually, because the fact of the matter is that they will be obeying citizens of the law, but they will also not be afraid to bend a bit just to give a little bit of receipts back and forth. Now, there's a ton of drivers that actually do fit this category, but I think there is definitely one driver that can definitely fit this, and it fits the embodiment well, and that is probably the number 58 car of Parker. Now, I think this could be controversial in many ways, but honestly, in my opinion, looking at just everything, me being here as a new driver, I would say that Parker is the embodiment of lawful neutral. In what way, you may ask? I think there's a lot of the fact that he normally stays in line with his own self, but he also has those moments when he will actually respond to a bit of backlash and actually probably give out a receipt or two, but I don't think sometimes it is justified, I guess. Sometimes it can be justified, sometimes it can't be. I think, there's some incidents like the Talladega incidents are a bit controversial, so it's best to just put him in lawful neutral for the time being, since it is basically the middle part of the fact that he can do good stuff, but there is also still some things that are pretty controversial that I would say like that would put him right in the sweet spot of that. Lawful evil is a tier that is basically the fact of the matter is that you can bend the rules just enough to get away with it, or just use the rules to your advantage. And there has been multiple times that has happened in this league before. There has been many drivers that have been using it. I would say that there is a plethora of drivers that can fit this category, but it's very hard to pinpoint. I think the most recent one, though, can be to the fact of one or two drivers. But the winner of that two drivers is probably going to have to go to the D3 and D2 95 and 22 Chubby. The reason why Chubby is lawful evil is because the amount of times that we have seen this driver in particular take someone out for God knows who. I mean the Bristol incident was by pure, you know, sheer by skill issues, honestly. Uh, there's been times where you just turn right. There's times where this guy's been very, very, very dirty at times, but there's still like a plus side to it. I mean, there's no rules about not wrecking someone, so what can you really do about it, right? So, you know, that's why he fits the bill for this one. Neutral good is literally how it sounds. It is basically the neutral of everything. This whole section is just going to be neutral. So the fact of it is that whoever is literally just good and really even hurt a fly, they can go into chaotic good or lawful good if they want to, but they stick to being neutral because they've caused both of those things. And for that, there is literally, I think there's only literally one driver that can fit this bill. And that's probably going to be the biggest newcomer to this organization, and that is the 26 car Lefty. Alright, so Lefty, being in the neutral good category, and for honestly great reason, is probably because the fact of the matter is that when you debuted, I believe that was at Atlanta. Man, what a story. Because you got a stage win, or stage top 3, then had lag issues, joined on mobile, didn't do that half bad, and then got wrecked by another bystander or another truck, which cannot be named here. But there has been some instances where Lefty has had some issues, which is the fact of the matter is in Iowa when his input delay was very bad and almost wrecked the sign out of the freaking championship, but that's besides the point. Neutral, you know, can be good or bad. You know, he deserves the spot right here and then. True neutral is the tier where basically you are the middle of the board and you basically have the personality of a paint dryer, but you know, the thing about it is that that's not the whole reason. You can be, you know, that person, but is the fact of the matter is that you have people that are in this tier that you might not even remember or really have it and only really have it in the back of your mind. And this is no stray to anyone that is in this tier because, you know, it is actually a pretty good thing to be true neutral. You are the definition of the most neutral driver in history. There is a lot of drivers that can fit into this tier, but I think it is only fair that we put the one of the only international drivers and one of the only people that is from South America in this league, and that is only one driver, and that is Diego. To give you a reason why Diego is in this true neutral tier is because the past, well, 2 months he hasn't really done anything besides like sneaking a win or two there. And when he does win, it's pretty much the most unexpected thing. I mean, I don't think much people expected him to win at, an All-Star race. I mean, that's kind of a stray in its own sense, but it's not supposed to be. It's just how history was in this league, and I don't think there is a single person that has actually hated him throughout his whole career. I think he's one of the most, like, literally neutral drivers. The only instances I've heard of him getting into a controversy was with Parker, but even that didn't even last, and they made up for it. So I think this could be, really interesting going forward. I wonder if he's going to stay in this tier though, because this is a really hard tier to stay in. But here's your true neutral. Neutral Evil is the tier where I think this is probably going to get the most controversial from. I think that, well, actually the definition of neutral evil is literally how it sounds. Neutral evil. You just do stuff for yourself. And that's, completely what it's made for. And, there's been some moments for every single driver that has had a neutral evil moment. It just depends on how often you do it. But there is quite a few drivers that have actually sticked out into this tier. And the fact of the matter is that it is a pretty interesting way to view it, but there is a lot of, probably I would say a lot of controversies leading to this. But I think this is probably the only driver I can really think about that would fit this tier, and I think it might as well be Brickman. Brickman, golly, okay. Where can we start? Well, there's been, goodness. It's actually really hard to think about it because there's been so many controversies with him. I mean, there is the social media incident where he low-key just did not care and just said some crazy stuff, had to apologize, and then leave the league indefinitely. There was D2 and D1 Bristol. That was something. There was D3 Darlington and D2 Lime Rock. That was a crazy experience. There's just so many things of just references of him being just like outright just evil, like just like a torpedo. And like, even though there's some flashes of bracing, that's why he's in neutral tier. There's just so much to think about the negatives. Chaotic Good is a tier list where you can be mostly good while also still having a little bit of a background story where it's kind of iffy. I mean, there's so many things that could go into play with this, but I think there can be only a couple of drivers that can fit this bill, and the couple of drivers I would say are mostly actually in the lower series, which is interesting enough because, obviously the higher division should have a more prominent figure, but, I think the lower series does have some personality to it, so I would say that there is definitely one driver that is completely off the walls to this tier list. Mr. Excitement was also here in this tier list. I think no one else can actually say they have embodiment that character more than that 17 car or 17 truck that is Sawyer.
So easy. Tell me, how is your life as a youngster?
Sawyer being in this category, what can I say? Come on. What can I say? This guy proceeds to make the biggest media shakeup of all time in this league. Predicts that he's going to get to the championship 4, not be a first round exit. And guess where his money is? Right where his mouth is. You know how insane that is to think about how this driver was almost completely forgotten, but then lit up the charts in the playoffs? Like, come on. What can I say about this guy? This guy was literally Mr. Excitement. Like, this has been the greatest like, oh my gosh, Cinderella run I've ever seen. I can't even say it anymore because it's crazy to me. He is in the Final Four as we speak, and if he wins, he deserves this full-heartedly, and no one, and I mean no one, can top that. Chaotic Neutral is basically, I would say, the most, probably actually the most likable sort of like tier list. Now, there's not really much drivers that can fit this. I know for a fact, one of the drivers that I just previously mentioned, Lefty, said I should be in this category, by his own reasons, but honestly, it would be pretty trash of myself to just put myself in a tier list and call it, yeah, no, I am that, you know. I'll make like sections of why I believe, well, why he believes that, and why also I can agree with him, but honestly, I don't think there is much to say. Honestly, I would say the biggest caveat here for chaotic neutral is one or two drivers, and it's gonna be a surprise. Well, I think I made my decision though. It's gonna be Fennec. Man, this was a hard one, but I think Fennec deserves to be in this position on the alignment chart. Why? I feel like whenever he came to the scene, it was really like he was consistent with poles, but I feel like it's every time this man enters a race, it is either going to be a top 3, a complete other wreck, or win it outright. It is just a toss-up with this person in D1. D3 is a bit more predictable, but lately, again, it's been unpredictable. So, Chaos is really, really digging into this person, and honestly, I'm all here for it because this is amazing to see, and honestly, it could be really, really, really interesting going into the Truck Championship and the Cup Championship. But yeah, there's not much reason why he's here besides his inconsistency, so nice. Alright, Chaotic Evil, well, it is what it sounds like. It's literally an uncontrollable force that is meant to intend to hurt people, and I think there is only really 2 people on this list, and I honestly think that there is some certification that is really only going to fit this bill. One of those, I'll point out that's not going to be on the ballot, is probably going to be ECR D1. Just because of the fact of what happened in the following, like, 2 races that she was racing, but that's besides the point. So, you know, that's her D1, right? You know, that's not even that bad. The real problem is this one driver almost costed a complete and utter championship hope, and it almost happened, and that driver, unfortunately, is Stizzy. Now, Stizzy, oh my gosh, where can I even start with this? Stizzy has caused problems with his driving style since the beginning. Uh, well, the most recent one, and the most, you know, prominent one was in the ISCAR Fun Race Endurance Race, while also in the playoffs at Bristol. What happened, you may ask? Stizzy was frozen, having internet issues, and decided for the fact to actually, instead of pulling off and not really, doing the right thing. You drove backwards, and that also happened in the Bristol race in the playoffs, which actually almost costed Ash's wishes at a shot at the championship, which is, I think, is insane. So that's why he belongs here. Thank you everyone for watching this video. If you want to hear more of my opinions, you can actually DM me on Discord or actually reach out to me. But that was the alignment chart for what? The season, I guess. So, I know I missed some drivers, but some of the drivers I actually had in mind are pretty difficult to place. And so I apologize for that. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you probably next time.